The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Big white bird, gonna fly right out of here without a single word. But you know you'll break my heart when I watch you close that door, 'cause I know I won't see you anymore. Don't pour your love.
And welcome back to the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, coming to you around the world from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the X Zone Broadcast Network, the Digital Satellite Network, Digital Broadcast Network, and, of course, iHeartRadio. If you'd like to send an email, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. And to find out all about the X Zone Broadcast Network and the shows that we have 24/7, 365, visit www.xzbn.net. X Zone Nation, my guest this hour is Mesheril ManyFeathers, and we're joining ManyFeathers all the way in Australia. So, first of all, ManyFeathers, thank you very much for joining us. How are you this morning or this afternoon, whatever time it is in Australia?
Wonderful, thank you, and thank you for inviting me to the X Zone.
Well, it's our pleasure. You would like to start off with a visualization, I understand.
I would. I'd like to give this as a gift to listeners.
Okay.
As a tool that I've been using something similar for the last 25 years and find it really helpful in dealing with difficult situations on the planet.
Please, go ahead.
Okay. So if everyone could please close their eyes, place your left hand over your heart, and focus your attention on your heart center, in the center of your chest. Imagine, see, and feel your soul's essence residing in your heart as a color. Imagine your soul's frequency and color, which is pure, unconditional love, expanding to fill every cell and every atom of your body. Then imagine it expanding and surrounding you in a bubble of your own essence. Feel the protection of having your soul's essence surrounding and filling your body. Feel and know you are universal consciousness, temporarily residing in a beautiful third-dimensional robe we call human. Oh.
What does the color within that visualization represent? I'm sure everybody sees a different color.
Everybody sees a different color. That is your soul's frequency, and everybody does have a different color. Your color, energy is made up of color, sound, frequency, and light, and it's individual to each one of us. We only know of 7 rays within the spectrum, but there's actually an unlimited number. So the color is your flavor of source.
Well,
it's your function as a spirit having an experience in the universe.
When I was
So
doing
what,
the
what
vision,
color did you get? Sorry.
I was getting blue. That as it emanated out, it turned purple.
Okay. Well, what that means is that you are living your purpose, because blue is about communication. And purple is one of the rays of transforming and transmuting low vibrational energy. So it's perfect. What you're doing is exactly what your soul wants you to be doing.
That was fascinating. It really was, because as you were taking me through it, I put my hand over my heart. Unfortunately, you couldn't see it, but I did exactly what you suggested. And as you started talking about the imagine the soul's frequency and color, that's when the blue started, and it just boom out. And as it went out further, it just turned to purple. It was quite fascinating to experience.
So you've never had an experience like that before?
27 years doing the show, nobody's ever asked to do one.
Wow.
You're the
Well,
first.
this is very cool.
Yes. Very cool.
So I really hope every listener has the same experience or something similar, because I find it really powerful, and I do it with all my clients and anybody that wants to have the experience. So it is beautiful.
Now, what did you say at the very end after you said we call human? Then you said a word.
I said aho, which is Lakota.
Ah, okay, aho.
Yeah, aho mitakuye or yasin, which is aho is a greeting, and mitakuye or yasin is it means basically all my relations, which is everything in the universe.
Because we're all connected.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you get interested in what some people call metaphysics, other people call paranormal, other people call reality? What started you on your crusade, on your quest?
I really feel like I didn't have a choice. I was pushed into it. Actually, it's not till recently that I discovered that I was abducted as a child, but I always knew that there was something out there in the unseen world. I always felt like I was being watched. I was afraid of the dark. I had experiences that would be considered paranormal as a child. And I also had psychic abilities, which, having been molested at 18 months of age, apparently if you're sexually abused before the age of 4, the chakra kundalini is awakened and your psychic abilities are, awakened. So I virtually was always psychic. I really didn't have any choice. I knew what people were thinking. I knew when they were lying. I was always different. I was always ostracized. But it wasn't actually until I moved to Canada, to Vancouver, that I had a reading when I was in my early 20s by a medium, and she told me things that there's no way she could have known, and that sparked my interest. It's like it literally opened the floodgates that I had to know everything there was to know about the unseen world. So I started reading books, and one thing led to another. I was connected with my native Canadian mentor and teacher, and she taught me basically everything she knew, and it just expanded from there. So after I connected with her, she was actually a walk-in and also somebody who had constant contact with ETs on Mount Rainier, I believe, in Washington State.
Right.
So I was kind of, you might say I was brought up with aliens and ETs. So I had many experiences where I saw flying saucers. And then in 92, everything changed. I had actual contact with some Andromedan beings who did some kind of initiation, I suppose you'd say, on me. And then I was on my way from Vancouver to New Mexico. And then on the way back, I stopped. I knew I just had to stop at Mount Shasta. I was abducted consciously in on Mount Shasta and taken inside the mountain.
Whoa.
then
Let's pause here for a second.
Back up?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Tell me about the contact and the initiation that you experienced.
Well, there was a flying saucer that was sort of constantly in front of us. I was with another person. We were as we were driving, and it was through South Carolina. So this spaceship was there, and the guy I was with, he could see the ETs and hear their communication, like they were verbally communicating.
Now, how far was the UFO from your vehicle?
Quite high up.
Really?
But the interesting part of that is we got out, we stopped the car at one point, and I got out and I took photographs. And every single photo and video are an M. Now, the likelihood of like 6 photographs and a video having a very precise M, I mean, they're slightly different in each photograph, is phenomenal, which means they had to have actually gone that fast to create an M for my name each time I took the photograph. That's pretty mind-boggling. So they directed us to go to a particular place in South Carolina. We had to sit down on the ground back to back, and I saw like luminescent blue, like DNA strands, and I later, I think they were reconnecting all 12 of my DNA strands. That's the indication that I get that that's what happened. But I saw these strands coming into the top of my head, and I definitely felt different afterwards. And then they sort of hung around for a bit and disappeared.
Is that what you call the initiation?
That was definitely the first part of the initiation. I would say being taken inside the mountain in Mount Shasta was the next part of that initiation. Now, I can't say that what happened to me inside Mount Shasta was for my highest good or not. I mean, at the time I thought it was, but knowing who these beings are now, I'm not 100% sure. But
why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? We've got to take a commercial break in about a minute, and when we come back from this break, why don't you tell us about the incident that you encountered at Mount Shasta? How does that sound? Okay. Exonation, our guest this hour, is Mesheril ManyFeathers, and what is the best website for people to visit you at?
MesherilManyFeathers.net.
There you go. And we'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. The X Zone, Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 o'clock Eastern. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And you're listening to us on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Digital Broadcast Network, Digital Satellite Network, and on iHeartRadio. I'm Rob McConnell. We'll be back. Don't go away.
Drowning in my tears. You say you're gonna leave, gonna take that big white bird, gonna fly right out of here without a single word. But you know you'll break my heart when I want you close that door, 'cause I know I won't see you anymore.
I've been driving all night, my hands wet on the wheel. There's a voice in my head that drives my heel. calling, says I need you here. And it's 4:30 and I'm shifting gear. When she's lonely and the longing gets too much, she says the cable coming in from above. Don't need to phone at all. We've got a thing that's called red eye love.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. ManyFeathers is our special guest of this hour. And, all right, so take us back to that time in Mount Shasta.
So I was walking up the mountain. It's fairly steep. I'd forgotten to take water with me, and I realized partway up when I started to wheeze, I was a bit asthmatic at the time. And I thought, oh no, I forgot water. And a voice in my head said, don't worry, it'll be taken care of. That was pretty weird, but I just, went with it for some unknown reason. I guess because I'd already had contact with ETs, it wasn't that strange. Anyway, not far up, there was a stream. I managed to get a drink and I kept going. Anyway, I was directed to a particular rock that was very flat partway up the mountain. And I had to sit down and meditate. So I sat down and closed my eyes and, went into what I normally do to meditate. And a veil literally, it was like a curtain came over. It was a gold-coloured curtain came over and I lost consciousness. And then I came back an hour later. But when I go into that experience, at the time I didn't know I'd been abducted and taken inside the mountain. It was a few months later I had a reading with a woman who channeled the Great White Brotherhood, and she said, yes, you were taken inside the mountain for 3 days and then put back an hour after. So basically you wouldn't know that you'd been abducted.
So let me
think of it abducted at the time, but yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So let me see. She said that you had been abducted and inside the mountain for 3 days, but you were put back an hour later.
Yeah.
How does that work?
And they do that kind of thing. Well, I was abducted recently, a few months ago. Nobody knows how, time sort of doesn't exist in the other realms anyway, so we don't know how long we're actually gone for. But they operate outside of time. So they take us into their realm. They can manipulate time. So they can put us back, a day before or a day after or at the same time or seconds later. So the only reason I know that I was abducted a few months ago is that there was a time shift when they put me back. So it was kind of like there was a phase where there was an overlap of time, and I thought, oh, I've just been put back in time. I've just had an abduction experience, which really ticked me off that I'd been abducted in the middle of the day. I mean, not that I like being abducted at night, but it was like, well, this is an invasion. You're obviously really desperate that you're taking me in the daytime. It means that whatever I'm doing at night must be working. So yeah, they have that ability to put us back in the timeline anywhere they like. So and I know many people talk about that.
Let me ask you, why do you think that you've been selected by these ETs?
Well, that is a really good question, and it's one I contemplated for a long time and have finally come to the understanding of why that is that there are certain people on the planet who are different from everyone else. I can't tell you how many of us there are, but the majority of humanity, probably 99%, were birthed within this physical realm experience, the matrix, as many call it. And some of us were captured from outside this reality and were inserted into this physical dimension. I remembered back in the 90s that I had been captured and put into this. I didn't know the whole details of it, but last year when I was preparing my presentation for the Close Encounters conference, I had a full memory of what happened. I'd been one of the higher dimensional beings that had been called in to supervise the ending the Orion Wars. A lot of people know about the Wars of Orion. I don't know how many thousands of years ago they were, but the Reptilians were trying to gain territory and take over. They wanted to take over the whole galaxy, but they didn't. But they had taken over Sirius and Orion, so there was great battles that were going on. Anyway, a truce had been arranged, and some of us from the True Light had been selected, I suppose you'd say, to supervise the retreat. But instead of us actually arriving where we needed to go, we were trapped in this low vibrating energy, and we were captured, had memory wipes inserted with lots and lots of implants, and then trained and ultimately ended up in Earth. So my memory of it, I remember who I was before. I've seen her. I've spoken to her. You know, I call it my spirit self. Some people call it the oversoul. I remember traveling from the Arcturian sun to this sun and then ending up in one of the physical bodies. I remember going to the Order of Melchizedek to learn to be human, going to Arcturus, learning their different languages, and then traveling from sun to sun to end up here. So that I've remembered. And there are a lot of us, you know, as I said, I don't know how many, but there are quite a lot of us that would have had some similar experience to what I had. And so we are different from other people. For whatever reason, our DNA can't be as manipulated as the humans that were born within the system.
How do you know your DNA can't be manipulated like
because
others?
this is what I've seen. This is what I've experienced.
But,
you know, that there is seeing this. There is knowing. Knowing means that you are connected to your soul and you just know things. You don't know how you know it. You just know it. So.
But as far as that some of you come from the different suns, and you've taken the different courses, you've learned different languages, you've learned different things, and you've come here to this planet. How is it that you fit in so perfectly with the rest of us humans?
I don't actually fit in very well. That's another trait.
Well, let me.
If
if you had been here for so long, and if these other beings have been here since a long time ago, wouldn't it be only natural to assume that through the process of birthing, that there would be many more who have been, who have been born on this planet, who have all the traits of their sisters and their brothers and their mothers and their fathers?
Well, that is one of the characteristics that I've seen is that those of us who we're targeted because they're trying to manipulate our DNA and essentially disconnect us from our soul. I mean, that's the goal. They don't want people to know who they are. They want people to be asleep and mind controlled and, being able to just be in the ego and, have our energy stolen, whatever. They want that.
Who are they?
For whatever reason.
Who are
the
they?
Reptilians. Yeah, the Reptilians, the beings that control the planet through the elite,
So basically, you're talking like David Icke.
I'm talking like David Icke, yeah.
Okay.
And I've had experiences that show me that, as crazy as he sounded all those years ago, and I didn't. The experiences I had were long before I ever knew he existed. But the experiences that I've had with reptilians, some of them very scary, tell me that this is what's going on. The fact that people are abducted and what they do in abductions.
But how come?
And the targeting, it all fits in with what I've experienced.
But how come these abductions cannot be proven? Like, there's a lot of hearsay when it comes to this abduction scenario, when it comes to the reptilians. There's a lot of hearsay, but when it comes to evidence, when it comes to being able to prove to the rest of the world that this is real, there is none.
There is actually.
Where?
Because there are implants that have been discovered in people that have been taken out and have found to be metals not of this planet.
Are you talking about the implants that Dr. Lear and Roger and Daryl Sims were famous
Yeah.
for? Well,
Yeah.
yeah, Dr.
That-
Lear
there's
was a
al- sorry.
podiatrist. He wasn't a real surgeon. He was
Yeah,
a
I know.
podiatrist.
Well, it doesn't matter who he was. He still was able to take those implants out and have them tested by reputable labs that had no idea
Then-
where these implants came from.
How come we don't hear
but
about
the-
implants anymore? How come we don't hear about that anymore?
Well, the implants are still there. I mean, I remove etheric implants regularly.
Okay.
I think they've become more sophisticated in how they use them or what
Right.
they use. But there are other proofs, and that is, people having memory loss of spaces of time coming back with marks on their body,
Well, just
that they shouldn't have.
all right. Listen, I'm an ex-cop, an ex-criminal investigator.
Yep.
People who disappear and come back with marks on their body is nothing that has not been seen before. So how can we
Agreed.
say, well, this is proof that they've been abducted by extraterrestrials, taken to another planet, sent back in time, brought forward in time? How can we
Well-
substantiate those claims? Because to many people who do not have the experiences that you have had, think that this is all in one's mind.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
There are definitely a lot of people who have been abducted in groups and
Really?
actually remember having been taken out through the ceiling, through the windows, and being in spaceships.
Wow.
We could call them all liars, but there are thousands and thousands of people who have memories of being taken on board spaceships by greys.
And if my memory serves me
Insectoids,
correct,
whatever.
that the vast majority of these people only have the recall during a hypnosis session.
Some, I know people that have been awake during their abductions. So, not everybody comes out and talks about it, obviously. But, I have talked to people who have been, completely conscious
Sure.
when they've been taken.
Many Feathers, please
So-
stand by. We've got to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Exo Nation will be back on the other side of this break with Many Feathers talking more about her experiences and her plans for the future. This is the Exo, and I am Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
I've been driving all night, my hands wet on the wheel. There's a voice in my head.
I made love to an alien near Roswell last night. We strolled along together in the pale moonlight. I had a funny feeling that something wasn't right. I made love to an alien last night. When she gripped my hand, I was feeling mighty fine.
Many Feathers is our guest this hour, Exo Nation. And what do you believe the ultimate plan of the reptilians are when it comes to this planet and the occupants of this planet?
The plan is the same as it's always been. They harvest our energy. So just like we live on food, meat, plants, whatever, they live on energy. And they particularly like fear-based energy. I mean, if you look back over human history and the amount of wars and deaths that we've had, you'd have to say that it's not particularly natural to have at least not have some, years of without warfare and
But there have been many
killing,
years
so-
without warfare, and the majority of
Have they?
Sure, and look throughout history, and the majority of the wars that have been, that have happened on this planet are because of religious and philosophical beliefs.
they have. And
so how
it's
can we
interesting that the Pope came out a few years ago and said that Lucifer was actually the true God. I think that's interesting because the elite are all part of either satanic or Luciferian cults. What does that mean? I'm not going to say I have my own knowing about that, but, I'm not going to put ideas into other people's head. But, if you think about, well, what does that mean for us?
Well, first of all, in order to say to yourself, what does that mean to us, you really have to believe there is a new world order, a shadow government. And not everybody has
to have a new world order, you have to believe that there was an old world order as well.
Well, no. The way I see it is that people in today's society are looking for answers that they, for some reason, cannot get. So therefore, if the answer is not there, it must be being suppressed. And everybody loves a conspiracy.
Well, the word conspiracy or conspiracy theory was created by the military to cover up UFOs back in the 1940s. So, it is a fact that over 95% of all so-called conspiracies have been found to be fact. So,
but that leaves
the
the
word
5%.
Conspiracy is just a scapegoat.
If that is true, then the 5% that have not been proven includes UFOs.
Well, the whole reason that they use that word conspiracy theory and the word UFO, they made that word up because they've never not known what they are. I mean, they shot down the spaceships at Roswell.
Whoa.
Because they wanted to use reverse technology for spaceships, which most of the spaceships people see now are actually human ones. They're not ET ones anyway.
Where did you hear that these craft were shot down? I've been doing this show for 27 years, and that's the first time I've ever heard that.
Well, I've done a lot of research with Stephen Greer's work, and he's interviewed thousands of military, and they can't all be lying. The people that were there and actually saw the ETs at Roswell.
Isn't it
people
amazing?
That were in the military that actually say, yes, they used technology that was able to bring the ships down. So,
all right, so tell me, what reverse engineering technology have we gained due to the...
Well, anti-gravity, for one thing.
Anti-gravity?
The ability to...
Yeah, I know
not have to use. Yeah, well,
I know what that is, but I'm just trying to figure out some place in our modern day technology that it's being used, except on monorails and high-speed trains.
Well, but see, that's the thing; it's not being used within the realm that we know of. It's the military that are using this.
Well, if
technology.
If the military is using this technology, how come they're still using jet fighters? They
don't necessarily want everybody to know. Although during the what do you have? You have hurricanes, don't you? The hurricane in Florida, there were a number of human man-made spaceships that were seen over the military base in Florida. I've seen photographs of them. So there is. The other thing I would say here, that there has been disclosure in Russia and France. So there are some countries, and the Chinese, they have disclosed that they've, have dealings with ETs. So it's not that the world doesn't accept it. It's that North America doesn't.
Well, how can North America not accept it if the Chinese, the Russians, and the French have, said, yes, we've been in contact? When the United Kingdom opened up their X-Files, there was nothing staggering that was found. And if there is hidden information, how come there has been no computer hacker that has been able to breach the data banks to bring this information forward in the United States or Canada? Because if that was possible, let's just take Russia, for example. If Russia wanted to topple, let's use North Korea for this one. If North Korea wanted to topple the government of the United States, all it would have to do is get its hacking team to go into the data banks and find that information that the government of the United States has been lying to the people of the United States since 1947 and bring this unequivocal proof forward. That would cause total chaos within the system of government, because people would have the proof that the government lied and has been lying since 1947. And to this very date, that information has not been found, released, And I find this, quite amazing in this world of technology where data is being breached all the time.
Well, according to Stephen Greer's work, there is the paperwork there. I mean, I've seen some of his files that he's gotten from the military that he's interviewed.
Well,
So
allegedly,
it's not completely
allegedly,
unknown.
allegedly.
Well, I've seen them.
Well, no, listen, Stephen Greer does not have a great reputation with everyone. He's known
No,
as a
I'm sure he
sensation, and he's known as a sensationalist.
Right.
I understand that there are those people who believe everything that Stephen Greer says. There are those people who believe everything David Icke says, and there's people who believe everything that Nick Pope says, and and so on. This is a person's right. But if this proof is out there, and it is so concrete, like these people say it is, why is it not being touted at the top of and shouted from the top of the highest building to get as much information as it can? Why isn't it being put on the internet and just flooding and going viral?
Well, there certainly is a lot of information on the internet, but who was the president that was Reagan? Ronald Reagan said in one of his speeches that, I don't have the exact wording, but he said something about there being a threat from outer space and how it would bring humanity together.
Yes, and he was talking about the Star Wars.
And he said that at a time when UFOs and aliens were not supposed to existed. So why was he saying that?
But he wasn't talking about UFOs. He wasn't talking about aliens. He was talking about the threat of nuclear attack from space-based stations. That's all he was talking about. And everybody in the UFO community took this as, oh, look, the president is actually admitting. No, that's not what it was about at all. It was about
that wasn't the wording that he used, though.
It was the threat of nuclear attack on the United States and her allies from space-based platforms from other countries, because you've got China, you've got Russia, and other countries that have space-based satellites that have the ability or had the ability to attack using nuclear weapons from outer space. That's all that was about.
Well, he did use the word aliens, though. So why would he have used that word if that's not what he meant?
If you're not an American and you go to America,
well,
whether you're
that's
from
true.
Canada
everybody's
or not.
an alien. Yeah,
exactly. So once again,
anyway, I mean, I don't really care what other people think, because if people want to be closed-minded and left-brained, that's their prerogative. That doesn't mean I have to be.
But is it they're being closed-minded, or they're being realistic, and they're being rational?
Well, I'm a realist, and I am very rational. So the experiences that I've had, the actual, my eyes open, being wide awake, having seen spaceships. You can call me a liar or whatever you like, but I've had those experiences. I have photographs of the spaceship that I took pictures of. People can poo-poo it as much as they like, but I happen to know that it's real, and I'm also incredibly right-brained and psychic, that I know that I'm not making this stuff up, and I really don't care what other people think.
But wouldn't it be to your advantage to try and use logic in having other people understand?
No, because it's not my job to convert anybody else to my way of thinking.
Then can I ask you?
That's not my job. I'm here to help people who are open-minded and want what I have to offer. I don't care about people who are closed-minded and want to stay in the way they are. It's not my job to convince anybody of anything.
Then why do you go onto radio shows if you don't want to convince or share your stories with other people?
Well, you invited me here to share my story. I didn't know I was going to be bailed up and accused of being
wait a minute. Wait a minute. I never accused you of anything.
No, you haven't. No, but that's how I feel. I feel like I'm being attacked.
You're not. I'm just asking questions as a true journalist will. I'm not a podcast guy who just says, yes, wow, I believe you. I'm a journalist.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But this wasn't what I was expecting. I will just say that.
What were you expecting?
I'm just here to share my experiences. Okay. Whether people believe it or not is up to them. I'm not here to convince. I'm here to share. And if people are attracted to me and what I have to offer, well, that's great. If they're not, well, sayonara. I don't care.
I think you do care, because I can tell you're getting upset. And the only reason you're getting upset is because you do care what people say. And, I can understand that. I understand that, and I can appreciate that. But all I'm doing is asking questions that I believe my listeners want me to ask. That's all I'm doing. So I'm going to give you a little breather. We're going to come back and do our final segment. And Exo Nation, Many Feathers and I will return on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't forget, you can always give me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, and on Facebook, X Zone Radio TV. The X Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Year 27. I'm Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
I had a funny feeling that something wasn't right. I made love to an alien last night. When she gripped my hand, I was feeling mighty fine, but her fingers with mine would not intertwine. When I bent down and gazed into her eyes, they were big as donuts and blacker than the sky. She said, I'm feeling lonely. I said, Lord, so am I. We'll stroll along together, but we won't question why. That ground beneath your feet, dear, is flashing red and white and sprouting little mushrooms left and right. Then she threw me down and put me on my back. To tell the truth, I thought I'd seen my last.
Just a glimpse of your face. I can remember smelling your hair. I'll meet you anywhere, somewhere that no one can retrace, somewhere where no one will know our faces. She has 2 arms to hold me and 4 legs to wrap around me. She's not your typical girlfriend. She's my alien.
Many Feathers is our special guest this hour, Exo Nation, and her website is www.mesherilmanyfeathers.com. As a site...
.net.
I'm sorry, .net. Son of a gun, I'm sorry. You give it your website out one more time. Come on, hon.
Mesherilmanyfeathers.net.
.net. Sorry about that.
Okay.
As a psychic, how do you see the world in the future? We look around today, as I'm sure you'll agree, there's a lot of problems going on in this world today. We have the problems in the Middle East. We have the problems with ISIS. We have the weird weather changes. We have the what's going on between the United States, China, and North Korea. How do you see things going?
Well, I think that... I think things are going to get a lot worse before they get better. I saw that happening before I left Canada in 97, 98. I had a feeling, premonition, whatever you want to call it, that the world was going to get a lot worse before it's gotten better. And it has gotten a lot worse since 97, 98. There's certainly a lot more control. When police have been militarized and given weapons, that really, why would you give such weapons to police? Anyway, I mean, I'm not here to analyze that. I'm just saying.
Sure, but all I'd like to do is
there's just so much control.
In the defense of police officers, it's about time that the police officers have the weapon strength that the bad guys do. Well,
if it's the everyday person, that's different. But if we're talking about gangs and things like that, then yes, I agree. But when a police officer goes up and shoots an innocent woman that did nothing, that came out of her house to talk to the police because she'd reported something in her alleyway and then gets shot for no reason.
But that's
Police
not,
seem to be overstepping the mark.
That's not an everyday
animals are being
occurrence.
shot a lot. There's been more than one case of people being shot. So I don't know. There's a fine line between too much and not enough.
Well, I agree, but on the same page, the shooting of civilians, that's not an everyday occurrence. Compared to the hey, listen, anybody who is unjustifiably shot, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. The loss of any life is a tragedy. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that any cop who does an unjustified shooting, should get off. I'm saying they should suffer to the fullest extent of the law, because in my eyes, they are no better than anyone else. So tell me, I agree with you that it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. Why don't the good space people come down and give us a hand to straighten everything out before we destroy ourselves?
Well, are there any for one thing? But, the other side of that is the prime directive, as we see on Star Trek, is apparently, I can't guarantee you that, but apparently that's a real thing, that they can't interfere with what happens on another planet. And according to Alex Collier, who has had a lot more dealings with the Andromedans than I have, the Andromedans have said it's up to you, humanity, to change. It's not up to us to come and save you.
But
and I think that's a realistic. Why do we need a savior? It's up to us to save ourselves. Each person, it's up to us to save ourselves.
But if these outside forces or these outside civilizations are responsible for putting people on this planet who put this planet in discord, why don't they take responsibility?
Well, I've asked myself that a lot, and I have tried to send them all to the back to source.
Right.
Believe me, if I had that much power, I certainly would. There are some things that I think we just don't know or understand. For whatever reason, there was an agreement made hundreds of thousands of years ago that there would be no interference. That's what I get. That's what my psychic knowing says, that they're actually not allowed to interfere.
Another question that's always boggled my imagination, and it's a question of, why do these visitors from other planets, other realms, other dimensions, wherever they come from, why don't they make themselves known to the masses in one shot so there could never be any denial?
Yeah, I wonder that as well. But if you look at some of the sightings, there was a sighting. I can't tell you exactly. Was it in the 90s or even 2000s? California, I think it was, and there was a politician who was there and saw it. There were thousands of people.
Oh, you mean the Phoenix Lights?
Yeah, the Phoenix Lights. Also in 1949, was it? There were, 20 or 30 spaceships that flew over the White House. A lot of people saw that. There's also, according to the Russian information, there have been whole stadiums of people that have seen spaceships. I think there's a lot more sightings than people realise. Like there was one here in Australia, a famous one here in Australia, which I didn't know about until, not all that long ago. But in the 60s, there was one that landed outside a school in Victoria, I believe it was. No, I don't know where it was. I won't say. But okay. The children were the ones that saw it the most. There was a few teachers. The military were there within like a few minutes of it landing. Who knows how they knew that? Were they monitoring? Whatever. But the children were all told never to speak of it, and the teachers the same thing. So it wasn't until many years later that people have adults have come out and said, yes, we had this experience when we were children, but we were told not to talk about it. So there is a specific cover-up for whatever reason. I speculate that it's because, there are certain government officials that want to have control of it and don't want people to know. But, it is kind of stupid, really.
Tell me
I think
about
the evidence is there. Yep.
Tell me about the crystal children.
Well, I don't think there's any such thing as crystal children. I think that it's the people that, we've always been here.
Mm-hmm.
We are the ones with a different DNA that can't be manipulated. We're more psychic than others. There's a lot of false information that's being spread around, the golden age, the new age, all this garbage, the crystal children are here to save us, blah, blah, blah. It's like this is all false flag, so to speak, information. Crystal children as such have always been here. They're not a new race that has suddenly appeared now.
You raised an interesting point, because there is a lot of information out there today. The internet, in my opinion, is the biggest cesspool that man has ever created. There's more crap in it than anything else. So how is a member of the public supposed to know who they can put their faith in and what they read about that this person says?
Well, see, this is where discernment is really important. And in order to be discerning, you have to be in touch with your intuition. And the most left-brain person still has gut feelings. So, there's a difference between judgment and discernment. And discernment comes from, whether you call it a gut feeling or a knowing or a sense that something just doesn't feel right. We have to really trust the feelings that we get of, this is just crap or this is not. I have to say that for nearly 25 years, I was fooled by a group of ETs into believing something that I later found out wasn't real. So, but in my own defense, I did have a feeling that it wasn't right. I had a sense that, all was not what it seemed. But yeah, I mean, the most discerning person can still be fooled, but I think that we have to, research is the most important thing. Don't just look at one person and say, oh, well, they've got all the answers. Nobody has your answers. You can only find your own answers. But, it's through researching a lot, looking at different people. How does this person feel? Do they look like they're BSing, or do they look like they're for real? How do you feel when you're hearing what this person has to say? Are they trying to pull the wool over your eyes, or are they being sincere? I think we're a lot more psychic than we give ourselves credit for, or intuitive, whatever you want to call it, empathic.
ManyFeathers, I hate to do this, but we've run out of time for tonight. I want to thank you for joining us all the way from Australia. And, geez. You know what that music means, my friends. Yep. I've got my BS waders on. She got a little hostile there because I was asking two hard questions. Like I said, there's a lot of crap on the internet, and that's where our production people found her. Oh well. Another one bites the dust here on the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.
Another one bites the dust. Hey, we're gonna get you too. Another one bites the dust.